Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4,000 Week Reich as Germany. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So we do 140 political power, which means they can probably spend something here. One of the fall. Can I not click these? I said on 150 political power. You know, that'd be a really good reason as to why I cannot click those buttons. Well, wait till we have 150. Probably upgrade one of our Korean military coup. With the recent election of the left-wing coalition in power in Korea, there have been many fears about a reaction by the old guard. These fears have been shown to be well-founded as reactionary elements of the Korean military have seized control of Seoul and disbanded the parliament, while arresting many prominent left-wing leaders. Claimed to be stepping in for the safeguarding of the Korean nation, the coup has been met with much resistance, but with the military deployed in cities and towns across the country, a second revolution seems unlikely. Another democracy overthrown. But now we have 150. What do we want to do here? Artillery research speed, industrial research speed, because we're a good factory. I mean, so you actually increase consumer good factory, huh? And I doubt there'll be anything that removes it, unfortunately. But the cap plus 15% is actually really good. You know what, we already have no civilian factories, so we might as well go with this one, right? Like, I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. Design flaws with the craft. Herman Oberth and several design engineers in the space project have raised their concerns on the overall design of the spacecraft. Their report stated that they were worried about the lack of reliable backup return and recovery capability of the spacecraft, which might result in fatal landings during return. However, due to political pressure from the government, the protests are swept aside and the space flight will continue as planned. So, I'm going to take a guess and say that the space flight is not going to work out well. Just a little bit of a foreshadowing there, and a little bit of my my incredible deductive skills, I would say. But I did realize there is a button right here, which we can click. So we are currently the number 2 GDP, and when I was looking at this, the fact that the USSR and Brazil have like the same economy, it's pretty impressive considering that the Brazil is, you know, like this massive country. You know, millions of people in it. Whereas the USSR is this one, like, backwards nation in the middle of, Siberia. Where do they have any industrial capacity? Also, I've noticed that our front lines are here. Whereas normally when you play Hearts of Iron 4, you have to get all the way to the Urals. So I'm not too sure why they get to keep all this territory. I guess there might be like, how many factories do you guys actually have? 8 to 12? How many factories do you have? You have less. You just have less military factories, and that's I'm assuming they're determining GDP, because otherwise I don't really know where they'd get those numbers from. Because I mean, I don't think GDP is in here at all. Like, I gotta, like, what are you? You are the inner circle. That's like a lot in buttons. What are you? What does this button do? Just a rule summary. Okay, so the inner circle. Our spear has weak influence, but trusted by the Fuhrer. Joseph Goebbels has mediocre influence and trusted by the Fuhrer. Hermann Göring has strong influence, but is suspected by the Fuhrer. Heinrich Himmler is a mediocre influence in neutral relationship, and Morton Bormann has mediocre influence in a neutral relationship. So right now, it seems like probably German and Goebbels are the most likely to succeed. While Adolf Hitler would never let Himmler have his own chunk of the land in which Himmler could run wild, Hitler can raise Himmler's loyalty by letting Himmler oversee the construction projects and improvements in the Burgund regions annexed from France, perhaps creating illusion that Himmler could achieve his dream after all. All 3 military factories. I will take those, thank you very much, and resolve the SS problems. Rush safety test. Attempting to complete the preparation before the deadline, the safety test on the spacecraft lasted for only 2 days. Russian without any double checking, the safety crew is ordered to not inform the Raumführer about the results of the safety check to maintain morale for the spaceflight. Yeah, superiority of German engineering, it'll be fine. Am I missing anything? The answer is yes. I'm actually missing still a lot of infantry equipment. So we'll put the 3 factories on there for now. Our production deficit cap. Economic stagnation. Yeah, it's really harming us right now. And I don't believe I can get any more cap upgrades until like 1955. So we're already researching you. We don't want that, I think, at all. Naval's tactics, artillery, strategic bombing. So we could get some chemical weapons. And you know what? That doesn't seem like a bad idea. And the Barbary People Republic has capitulated. So the Republic of Algeria has won their war. You, I think, are social democratic, right? Yes. And a revolution in Baghdad. Iraq's Hashemite monarchy has been long unpopular among its population, regarding as incompetent and a puppet of Western imperialist powers. Now driven by a building resentment across the country, a revolution has taken place in Baghdad. A cabal of army officers have launched a successful coup riding on the backs of public discontent. The Al-Rashad Palace was taken mostly without resistance, and King Faisal II executed, along with many of his closest supporters. The provisional military government was declared in Iraqi Republic, free from foreign domination of any kind, very quickly. The other members of the young United Arab Kingdoms, Jordan, was secured by loyal forces, and the two nations united into a newly founded Arab Federal Republic. So you are now despotic. You have horrible stability cost. Syria, I hope you're ready to invade the Arab Federal Republic, so this is definitely the time that I would do it. And the end of the Algerian War. For the first time in over a century, the people of Algeria find themselves able to rule over themselves once more. With near unanimous native support, the Republic of Algeria was able to defeat the Iran Free State and the Barbary People's Republic to secure a newly independent Algerian state. Trying to acquire is already recognized as a nation, while Germany and France have made no official comment as of yet on the matter. While it's unclear as to what form of government this will develop in the Republic or who will lead it, this has not stopped the wave of euphoria engulfing the nation, as thousands take to the street of Algiers to celebrate this historic occasion. And to launch day. The day of the launch has finally arrived. Camera crews and engineering crews are ready to take part in this major chapter in Aryan superiority. The spacecraft will be manned by Raumfuhrer Heinrich Dottmar, an esteemed pilot at Luftwaffe. Heinrich Dottmar is in the dark when it comes to the laziness and dangerous factors of the plans leading to the launch. Dottmar is uninformed about what comes after reaching the 100-kilometer checkpoint, but he's seemingly excited and in good morale. With Dottmar ready at the cockpit, all that's left is countdown and to start ticking. So we can either launch or cancel it, but we're going to launch that fucker. And we'll see what happens. A successful launch. The launch was successful. However, while the spacecraft reached the altitude of 132 kilometers before falling back towards the surface of Earth, the parachute failed to deploy and its SAFE impacted the ground at terminal velocity. Radio communication between the spacecraft and Heinrich Dottmar were cut once it became apparent that the parachute would not deploy. The intention being keep Dottmar uninformed so that he could die doing what he wanted. Nevertheless, the launch was over successful with minimal cost of lives. The first man in space will forever be a German. Good enough. We now have a. I like on the -1, -1 manpower, because that guy, he's very dead. Yeah, let's do one more debate. I'm sure that'll go fine. Manned German spaceflight. Reports from the German state news and information surrounding from surrounding radar station have proven that Germany has successfully launched a manned suborbital spacecraft to the altitude of about 138 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The pilot was Heinrich Dottmar, who was confirmed dead during his crash re-entry. Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels announced that this was a major victory for the Aryan people and declared Dottmar a martyr of the German Volk. This sudden move was shocked the Western world, and while this showed that Germans have the ability to reach space, it also is considered unlikely that the struggling Nazi state could spare the resources to mass weaponize space technology. Über alles in der Welt. At least I think that's how you say that. We don't need template for all these equipments, but don't worry about that. We can worry about that in the future. We do have a lot of aircraft that we can deploy, because right now we have 60 aircraft. I might as well just deploy them then. They'll deploy you. We will deploy you. Just keep on deploying everybody. Also have the game just running in the background. Thank you very much. The long coughings. When the Fuhrer is getting ready to start the day for Germany, he noticed something. He noticed that his coughs that day are particularly worse than normal. This continued for hours until the doctor was summoned. Although the doctor did not raise any concerns, whispers say that the doctor is hiding a trace of illness from the Fuhrer himself. I mean, that seems like a bad idea to not tell him that he's going to die. I mean, I'm feeling that might just get you, like, executed or something. I'm not too sure. But we'll get all these things deployed. We're going to have a ton of aircraft. And I do see that the Vietnamese Republic's going to... Okay, actually, no, this is not China declaring war on Vietnam. This is a Vietnamese Civil War. Probably backed by the Chinese, if I had to take a guess. We'll see if it's in the north or in the south. So we'll deploy all these guys. Only 2 more button presses until we're ready to go. And that is, yes, 7,200 planes. That's a much bigger air force than we had just a moment ago. Yes, the Vietnamese Republic, I'm assuming, inspired revolution, backed by the Kuomintang. Yeah, it's called the Sino-Vietnamese War. So, the Sino-Vietnamese War. Conflict has turned to Southeast Asia as an uprising by Chinese-backed anti-communist rebels in the north of Vietnam was followed very soon by artillery fire by Chinese forces across the border. Nam Trinh has announced its intention to support the freedom fighters of northern Vietnamese forces and the freedom of the Vietnamese people against the evil of communism. In response, the Vietnamese government, in a statement from Ho Chi Minh himself, utterly denounced what he considers nothing more than a full-scale Chinese invasion begun by counter-revolutionary elements working directly for China. Urging the Vietnamese people to fight for their country, Ho Chi Minh declared that there would be no surrender and Vietnam would fight to last to repel the Chinese invaders. How could some Vietnamese farmers win? The United States criticizes Chinese invasion. In a somewhat unexpected public statement, the United States administration has criticized the recent Chinese invasion of Vietnam. Though not going as far as to aggressively condemn it, America urged China to halt its defensive actions and for both sides to come to the negotiation table. Stating that Chinese military action was gravely threatening the peace in Asia, that we all sought to create with the surrender of Japan. It is unlikely the Chinese government will heed this advice from their former ally that is increasingly becoming a regional rival. It remains to be seen if the U.S. will take any further actions. So we'll see what you guys do. I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, Vietnam War. It's a negative 50% attack penalty, which I would say is pretty bad for you. Oh, no, so China actually is directly in the war as well. So we'll kind of see what you guys end up doing. And when do you think this guy is, we're gonna know he still has on this. Do you have, okay, let's just see. We can see if he has claims on this territory. And if so, we'll see if he's doing that trade. Okay, he does have his claims. So that means Syria is probably preparing a full-scale invasion of all these territories in the future. Free military factories. Let's throw that into one more artillery. That seems okay. The SS infighting resolved. For now, with the intervention of Hitler and his wise words, the SS situation has been resolved peacefully. Now, with the SS no longer threatening to tear Germany apart, Hitler can focus on other things that need to be done. He'll get a little bit of stability. Does that give me any civilian factories? No. Of course not. That'd be ridiculous. After that, weekly stability goes up. Conservative approach, outsourcing labor. Do any of you... I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that either it succeeds or it fails. But let's go for... handling the political situation. 14 days is a pretty quick focus. So I will take it. Italian East Africa has declared war on the state of Ethiopia. So I'm assuming this is an independence war. The Golden Square coup. Only weeks after the recent revolution in Baghdad, a group of pro-Axis officers known as the Golden Square have seized power. Long lurking in the shadows out of view of the British, the chaos that gripped the country recently has given a perfect opportunity to overthrow the first government of the young republic. Having long espoused views in support of Germany and Italy, and as allies in the struggle against Anglo-American domination, the new government is widely likely to pursue an actively pro-Axis foreign policy, which will no doubt worry those in London and Washington. It remains to be seen what actually taken by a Western power. So I mean, if you like us, you like us. I'm guessing we have a similar ideology. We did get some technology here as well. So if you've gone for the Golden Square, what are you going to do then with Syria? Because if you're both Axis-backed countries, and I'm not too sure how that's going to necessarily play out. The Ethiopian Uprising. One of the preludes to the fascist conquest of Europe was Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia in the mid-1930s. Making up for Italy's embarrassing earlier defeat against the African kingdom, Ethiopia was conquered and annexed into Italian East Africa. But the people never forgot about their freedoms. Skirmishes and resistance continued throughout the years, mostly countered by heavy-handed Italian response. Now it seems Italy's colonial policies have failed as a mass uprising has begun across Ethiopia from bases in the western mountains. The rebels' chance of success may seem slim, but they are determined to win the freedom that was so recently taken from them. So, technology. We'll go for you, followed by... because it's almost 1953. Doubling the sauce attack of engineers could be useful. So we'll go with that one. The Casablanca catastrophe. The world watches in shock as the Spanish government has been forced out of North Africa. The once desperate Moroccan government has found victory today with what many independent news outlets have creatively called the Casablanca catastrophe. The signing of the Treaty of Casablanca, in which Spain recognized the sovereignty of the Kingdom of Morocco over Sidi Ifni, the Western Sahara, and the Rif. This devastating blow to colonialism has been felt across Africa and the Middle East, fueling the already hot fire of nationalism. The Moroccan government has already announced a large festival in celebration of their total independence, while Madrid desperately tries to explain their failures to a disappointed Spanish public. I mean, with Algeria becoming independent, Morocco becoming independent, Ethiopia maybe winning their independence, there's definitely a strong case to make about decolonialization taking a big precedent. And France did become independent from the British rule. Einstein visited Israel. World-renowned physicist and German-born Jew Albert Einstein has visited Israel on his first visit to the Holy Land as a nation. Having previously visited Palestine in 1923, Einstein has promised to address students and the American people from various locations in the Israel-Palestine Confederation, including the University of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem itself. Einstein's visit, motivated much by the recent death of Chaim Weizmann, as by the establishment of the Israeli nation within the Confederation, is greeted with international acclaim and general celebration. Einstein remains, in his own words, a committed Zionist, and has declared his intention to help encourage peace and prosperity in Israel-Palestine. Although many expect him to also speak on prominent social issues and a geopolitical elephant in the room. Am I the elephant? No, that couldn't possibly be the case. That's preposterous. I'm just sitting up here in, like, you know, northern central Europe, and a little bit of Eastern Europe as well, just minding my own business. Social Democrats' victory in Sweden. Due to the continued strong popularity, the Social Democratic Party of Sweden has remained its majority party of Sweden. Prime Minister Taj Erlander has promised to continue the Social Democrats' policy of reform and neutrality within Europe, promising that Sweden will never submit to external forces, and with it, the 1952 election of Sweden has come to a close with an unsurprising result. So, party politics. The structure of the NSDAP and the German government has been needing some reconsideration, considering their current difficulty in handling all the new territory, both west and east. This, of course, calls for the Fuhrer to take charge. The party has been having great difficulties in maintaining stability in certain parts of the Eastern Reich Commissars, and the internal politics of the party is getting more and more sectarian. This can be seen with the development of underground blocs in opposition to the party's policies of Adolf Hitler, with various rival National Socialist blocs seeking alternative approaches. The Fuhrer must decide, intervene and try to maintain unity, or take a more relaxed approach and see how things developed. Well, let's get our 5% stability. We'll kind of just want to see what happens. We'll see what happens. Follow that up by Matters of the Old Guard, 35 days. The UN Vietnam resolution has failed. Only days ago, the UN resolution to call for an immediate ceasefire within Vietnam, reforming Vietnamese sovereignty and setting out a roadmap for China's eventual withdrawal of military forces in the country, was brought into the assembly. There was little hope for this resolution passing, and now that these hopes have been totally vanquished, with China exercising its Security Council veto rights to shoot down the proposition entirely. In truth, there's never much expectation that the resolution could be passed. It remained more of a political statement. It was backed by the United States and its allies, indicating continued disagreement about China's military actions in the region. While a minor blow to the United Nations, it's expected the organization will continue to pursue its future aims with relatively unaffected. So unsurprisingly, you are pushing it away pretty far back. I'm not too sure what Vietnam needs to do to actually win the war, because I'm going to take a guess and say Vietnam annexing all of China, pretty unlikely. I know that is a crazy thought that would possibly be the case. You have 20 more days until you are finished. Still no civilian factories. I don't know when, if ever, we'll be able to actually get any. Free France has joined the Toronto Accord. Under de Gaulle, the Free French government has successfully joined the Toronto Accord as a member state. While Free France is considered an illegitimate state by most countries, which recognize the Paris government of the French state, the Toronto Accord has ignored conventional diplomatic norms and allowed Free France to enter as a member. This has naturally angered many French politicians within the French state, with political parties in Paris issuing an astonishing communique declaring the entire Free French movement the last gasp of starveling brutes. This action shows the commitment of the Corps to fight fascism and diplomatic coup de grace for de Gaulle's Free French as a major step towards becoming the legitimate government of France. How dare you possibly allow you to join the faction here, the Limbo Exiles, minority state? Do you have any ability to, I'm assuming this would be Free French victory. You probably have just on this event. You do get an annex war goal here. Reclaim fascist Africa against the Council of Sahara. I wonder if... I wonder if Free France is actually going to invade France. And I wonder if they invade France, I have any say in what happens. I'm going to say probably, but I'm not too sure. A la Rune. Arthur Miria Ravolt's latest movie, A la Rune, has finally been released. The movie featured a strange plot that most viewers enjoyed, but a greedy Jewish scientist that built a beautiful Aryan woman. But the Jewish scientist has corrupted her beyond the point of no return, and she took her life in the name of Germany, instead of becoming in the hands of a greedy Jew. The movie is also claimed to be fully based on a fictional novel published in the early 1910s. Cool. Okay. Oh, sure. Do more party politics, but I don't think we actually really want to do that focus. In the matters of the Old Guard. The Old Guard have been there since the birth of the NSDAP regime and some of the formation of the party itself. They are respected and influential members of the party, but their views are outdated compared to the thousands of newer members. These old elites refuse to accept that they are falling from grace, resisting any form of change. While Hitler respects these elements, they serve as a great barrier for any sort of reform to happen. Advisors suggest that we should limit the influence of the old members of the Old Guard, but would it be better if we keep things unchanged? The founders will stay. For now, I think that seems okay. And a Nazi constitution. And Syria's declared war on... Syria has declared war on Palestine and Israel. India has declared war on Bangladesh once again. We'll go one more factory. I guess just more into artillery, because is that what we're missing the most of? Actually, it's mostly anti-tank. Anti-tank is what we have the least amount of. So we will... production. We will throw one more factory there. But I do think that this seems like a good time for us to end this episode for today. So if you've enjoyed, remember to thumbs up. Not enjoy, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.